Hello and welcome to People, Politics and Power. I am Imoni Amarere. On the program today, we turn our attention to the concept of local government caretaker committees. In 2020, through the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, the Presidency reportedly ordered the disbandment of caretaker committees operating in most of the states of the country and called for the restoration of democratically elected representatives. According to the Attorney General, caretaker committees were outrightly illegal and unconstitutional as their existence amounts to a breach of the provisions of Section 7, Subsection 1 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. He described the dissolution of elected local government councils by some governors as unconstitutional and a violation of the Supreme Court's judgment of the 9th of December 2016 in the case of Governor of Ekiti State and others versus Prince Sami Olubunwo and 13 others. In a letter to the Oyo State Governor, Seyi Makinde, identifying Oyo State as one of the concerned states, the Attorney General cited the provisions of the law as well as judicial pronouncements describing the existence of caretaker committees as unpleasant. He called on the state to uphold the rule of law and not hinder development of at the local government level. Since this made the news rounds at that time, that's in last year, there are still in existence today local government caretaker committees as state governors, contrary to law, suspend at will or dissolve elected local councils and put in their place caretaker committees. Now, beyond the alleged manipulation of the electoral process at the local government level that sees the incumbent political party at the state emerge unopposed at local council elections, the lack of independence at that level, including financial autonomy, remains a cause for concern. Now, recently, the Presidency attempted to disentangle them, that is the local governments, from the apron strings of the state governors by directing that they should receive their allocations, their funds, in a separate account from those of the states, as opposed to what obtains at the moment where states and local governments seem to have joint accounts. That move was met with stiff resistance by the governors, who cited constitutional issues and then approached the Presidency for a political solution. Today, our spotlight is on the local government administration by asking if the President has the constitutional authority to issue orders pertaining to local government administration. Are such orders in line with the spirit and letter of federalism, of true federalism? What are the limits of the powers exercised by state governors as they dissolve elected local government councils and appoint caretaker committees at will? We shall also look at the constitutional backing or otherwise that gives room for the existence of caretaker committees, their duration, and the expectations from them. Now, by extension, we will also assess the level of development at the local council level and seek ways by which real governance can be brought to bear at the grassroots. So join me for this conversation as we will have joining us a lawyer, a member of the Association of Local Governments of Nigeria, AGON, and of course, a member of NOGE, that is the National Union of local government employees. Right after this time out. Stay with us. All right, thank you so much for staying with us, People, Politics and Power. And we're looking at local government administration in Nigeria with particular reference to the constitution of caretaker committees in place of democratically elected council chairmen and councillors at that level, which is guaranteed by the provisions of Section 7, subsection 1 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. Now, in recent times and for a very long time, in fact, state governors have formed the habit of dissolving elected local councils and putting in their place caretaker committees. And now the presidency is saying that such practice is illegal, unconstitutional, and of course a violation of the ground norm of the Nigerian state, and has directed that state governors should go ahead and dissolve such caretaker committees and conduct elections into the local governments as provided for in Section 7, subsection 1 of the Nigerian Constitution. Now, the question that has been asked over time is whether or not caretaker committees are legitimate, and again, whether or not the directive from the presidency relying on a Supreme Court ruling of 2016 is actually again legitimate coming from the presidency at the federal level to state governors. We'll be looking at all of these and all the other issues that will be thrown up in the course of our discussion today. And we are joined in the studio at this point in time by Mr. Leonard Ayongo. Mr. Ayongo is a lawyer. He's based here in the nation's capital. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Ayongo. We will be joined very shortly by Abdullahi Shaibu Maje. He is the chairman, Suleja Local Government Council, and he is the interim management committee chairman of the Association of Local Governments of Nigeria, ARGON. Of course, Suleja is in Niger State, but of course neighboring Niger State, right here to the federal capital. He'll be joining us very shortly. And virtually via Zoom, we will also have joining us Mr. Ambali Olatunji. He is a national treasurer and president-elect of the Nigerian Union of Local Government Employees. He will be joining us very shortly from his base in Lagos. Right? Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us. Mr. Ayongo, thank you. Let's begin with you while we await the arrival of Mr. Abdullahi Shaibu Maje, who is the Suleja Local Government Council chairman. And, of course, we'll also then be going over to join Mr. Olatunji. So, how legitimate, going by the provisions of Section 7, subsection 1 of the 1999 Nigerian Constitution, let me read, it says, the system of local government by democratically elected local government councils is under this Constitution guaranteed. And accordingly, the government of every state shall subject to Section 8 of this Constitution, ensure that their existence under a law which provides for the establishment, structure, composition, finance, and functions of such councils. Now, against that backdrop, how legitimate are caretaker committees? Because almost every state governor, almost all, have gone the same way. Dissolve elected local government chairmen and councils that they met in place and replace them with caretaker committees. And some of them are not even making any effort at organizing elections to fill those positions.
Well, let me say it's my honor to be here once again. And let me say a good afternoon to you and a lovely month of February to you and all our viewers. Having said that, just like you read, Section 7 sub 1 or the 1999 Constitution as amended is unambiguous. It is mandatory. It does not give room for an otherwise, an alternative. If you look at section 1 sub 1 of the same constitution, it talks about the supremacy of the 1999 constitution. And then if you look at section 1 sub 3, it talks about any other law that is inconsistent with the 1999 constitution. To the extent of that inconsistency, it is null and void. That goes to show that the 1999 constitution, it's sacrosanct. You cannot escape it. It has to be the 1999 constitution. So if you look at the combined reading of section 1 sub 1, section 1 sub 3, and of course, looking at section 7 sub 1 that you just read, that it does not give any leverage for any state governor to handpick who becomes the chairman of a local government or even the councillors. But just like you rightly said, almost all the governors, with the greatest respect, that is an arm of government that is the closest, the chair of government rather, that is the closest to the ordinary Nigerians. And so I feel more comfortable working to my chairman or my councillors, easily so to say, than to assess even the governor of the state or even Mr. President. It shows how important that chair of government is. And it is constitutionally guaranteed. You remember that all the local governments are provided in the Nigerian constitution, 724 of them, 768 in the 36 states and 6 in area council, making up 724, all constitutionally provided for. But with the greatest respect, in my advocacy and my legal practice, with the greatest respect, we are more of a country of an aberration rather than compliance with the law. So the directive by the Attorney General of the Federation, to my mind, I think it's in proper perspective. However, I would love to see a judicial backing, though the Supreme Court has decided in the case of Ekiti State and others against that case we just cited now.
Which is the case that the Attorney General relied on.
And of course, by the provision of section 7 sub 1, the Attorney General is in order. But with practice federalism, the governors will quietly tell you that the House of Assembly, if you look at section 8, the state houses of assembly have power to make laws for the goods and governance of the local government administration. However, I do not subscribe to that notion, because when state houses of assembly make any law that is inconsistent with the provision of the constitution, vis-a-vis the National Assembly, of course, to the extent of that inconsistency, such laws made by the state houses of assemblies are null, are of no effect. But I think we are not seeing a concrete administrative political will. If this is the case now, that of course the National Assembly is constitutionally guaranteed to allot allocation to this local government. If administratively we are allowed, there's a political will to it, then the Attorney General, through the Presidency now, will now say, okay, if you don't have an elected local government in place, then we cannot forward the allocation to you. That is administrative. Of course, in the principle of federalism, some of the state governors will take the Presidency to court, to the Supreme Court still. But we can still see further adjudication by the Supreme Court. Of course, I'm very sure that the position will never change. But we have not seen any concrete political will to that. And of course, remember there is no financial autonomy, where the monies of this local government goes to the state government, and the state government appropriate the way they like it. And of course, if we want to look at it politically, there's this argument that what is the difference between the caretaker committees and even the elected, in quote, local government administration? Because virtually they are handpicked. Virtually they are handpicked. That's why a particular political party is in place. You know that that state is gone to the party in place. There is no independence of the state independent electoral commissions across the state. So some person will argue, what is even the difference between the caretaker arrangement and even the elected, in quote? So there's a whole lot for us to do to cleanse the system. And then we need that political will by Mr. President. I think this effort is commendable, but with a caveat that it has to be based on judicial pronouncement, because some of these state governors will go to court and challenge the situation. So in that aspect, administratively, I want to say yes. But beyond that, it has to go to court to make those interpretations. For instance, if we want to withhold the allocation to these undemocratic caretaker committees, you still need the court to pronounce on that. It will be neater and better to do that.
All right. Before I bring in Mr. Abdullah Shaibu Maji, I think we need to clear up one thing. Some people have argued that the 1999 Nigerian Constitution has a number of ambiguities, and that Section 7, subsection 1, dealing with local governments, is one of such provisions that is ambiguous. I need you to clearly interpret what this provision says, because, and I like to read it again. The system of local government by democratically elected local government councils is under this constitution guaranteed, and accordingly, the government of every state shall, subject to section 8 of this constitution, ensure their existence under a law which provides for the establishment, structure, composition, finance, and functions of such councils. Now, in reference to section 8, which you alluded to earlier on, there it talks of the ability or the powers of the state assemblies
and the National Assembly
to make laws for the smooth running of these local governments. When you put these two sections together, what does it really say? How unambiguous are they?
Yeah, to an extent, there's a bit of ambiguity. Because if you look at that section 7 sub 1, it talks about, what is very clear there is that the system of local government has to be democratic. But there's no provision to the tenure. It's not stated. And of course, if you go to section 8, the section 8 talks about the powers of even the houses of assembly to make laws for the smooth administration of the local government system. But one thing we cannot deviate from is that the system has to be democratic. But the tenure of office is not specified. That's why in some states, you can see it's a 2-year tenure. In some states, 3-year tenure. So in that regard, there could be variation. But what cannot be adulterated is the system of local government, which has to be democratic. That means the local government administration has to be made through an elective office or elective office. In that regard, there's no ambiguity. But just like I earlier on said, most of these state houses assembly, with the greatest respect, they are not independent. And that is one aspect we have to look at, where a while ago, Mr. President granted financial autonomy, which has not come to light. So, with the greatest respect, most of these state houses assembly are still under the puppet of the governors, as what the governor directs. So, the governor of a state that don't want to conduct local government election can equally influence the state house assembly to do laws, state laws, to guarantee, to provide for caretaker arrangement, as against the dictate of section 1 sub 3 of the 1999 Constitution. And that's why we have been preaching that the 1999 Constitution has to be remodeled, has to be restructured. We have to revisit it and make it clearer. And I think these are part of the restructuring we're talking about. There are a lot of ambiguity. Remember that the 1999 Constitution, to me, is a product of the military. So it has to be re-engineered to clear some of this ambiguity. But when there's ambiguity as a lawyer, when there's ambiguity, you go to court. And when there's dispute between the states and the federal government, it's the Supreme Court that will make those decisions. So what is very clear and unambiguous that the system of local government has to be democratic. But the tenure could be determined by the houses of assemblies of the state.
All right. Mr. Maje, thank you so much for joining us. Mr. Shaibu Maje is the chairman, Suleja Local Government Council of Niger State, and is the chairman, Interim Management Committee of the Association of Local Governments of Nigeria, AGON. Thank you so much for finding time to join us.
Thank you.
I'm sure that this directive by the president is not new to AGON. First, how has AGON engaged with it since the ruling of 2016 as it concerned Ekiti State, where the Supreme Court expressly stated that the state government or the state governor did not have the power to dissolve elected local government. But even after that, between 2016 and now, that's over 6 years, we have continued to see caretaker committees being put in place by state governors.
Yeah, you are right, but I can tell you recently there are a lot of governors that have conducted election. There are some states that have not conducted local government election for decades, but recently we have some states like Borno State have conducted, Bauchi also, Yobe, they are about to conduct their own election. So there are so many states that are coming up.
Delta is preparing to conduct elections.
Yes, to conduct election. Even from the southeast, there are some states that have conducted election, not like some few years back where you find out most of the state governors just like you said, putting in caretaker committee. After some few months, they remove them or they reshuffle them with another new members of the caretaker committee, whereby they take full control of all the local government resources. So you hardly go to local government and see developmental projects going on. But there are a lot of some states that I believe since 1999, they've been conducting election. But just like my brother said here.
Just as you also had some governors who spent the whole of 4 years in office with caretaker committees.
Yeah, there are some that spend 4 years, even 8 years with caretaker committee. But like I said also, some states since 1999, they've been conducting election. Just example, my own state. Since 1999, they've been conducting election. This is my second tenure in office as a chairman, and we have 3-year tenure in our own state. Some states are 2 years. It's only Lagos State, I think they have 4 years tenure. So I believe with the directive of Mr. President on issue of financial autonomy have made some governors to start changing their ways. But it will be proper if the local government will get a full autonomy. I believe it will go a long way in tackling so many challenges in this country, most especially the security challenges that we've been having. Because local government administration are the closest to the grassroots. So if the local government have been given a full autonomy, I believe, and they have been checkmated by their governors, they will do a lot to tackle so many challenges. Like I said, most importantly, our main burden in this country, security.
With regard to financial autonomy, since that presidential directive, what's been the experience of your association members of AGON with in relation with the governors? Have they complied with this financial autonomy? Because there was a time, sometime in 2020, when they actually led the delegation to the president and sought what they call the political solution to that directive. Before
my emergence as IMC president of ALGON a few months ago, that was in 2020, that's last year, I can tell you the previous leadership of ALGON, I don't think they are really from their heart, they are after local government autonomy. What they are really after, how they will connive with some consultants and other people to source, to just take the local government fund from the source. That is what has been going on. Like presently, I can tell you, there are a lot of order from courts on issue of deduction of billions of nairas of local government fund from the source. So I don't think they are really after even getting the local government autonomy. That is why we, the General Assembly, come together and dissolve that leadership and set up an interim management committee headed by me so that we can checkmate all the activities of ALGON so that we can come together and unite and fight a good cause that will save the Nigerians generally, not just local government. Because I believe everybody comes from a particular local government. So if we come together as chairmen and fight this cause and local government have their full autonomy, I believe we'll go a long way on tackling all these issues generally.
All right. Well, we're still waiting for Mr. Ambali Olatunji, who is the National Treasurer and President-elect of the Nigerian Union of Local Government Employees, NOGE, to join us via Zoom. We hope that he's able to make it so that we can have a perspective from the workers in the local government councils, what they feel and how they operate under elected local councils and under caretaker committees that are set up by governors in some states of the Federation. We hope that Mr. Olatunji will join us hopefully very shortly so that we can explore that perspective. But let me come back to you, Mr. Ayongo. And let's look at, we have talked about the letter and spirit of the 1999 Constitution. As far as authority and orders emanating from the presidency is concerned. Again, let's now look at what the limits, going by the provisions of the Constitution, what the limits of the powers of governors are to dissolve elected local councils and set up caretaker committees.
Well, to me, the straight answer to that question would be that the governors have no right, have no power whatsoever to dissolve elected council because they have their tenure. An elected chairman.
But only in a few places,
yes, but
that you have seen such actions being challenged.
Exactly.
Like what happened in Ekiti.
And the situation
like what happened in Oyo and a few others.
And you can explain that. Also, yeah. With the greatest respect, my friend and chairman here, it may not be in his own case. Most of these so-called elected, with the greatest respect, I apologize for using that word now. Most of these elected local government chairmen, I can tell you for free that they were selected. So they don't even have they don't even know their right from their left. That is the truth about it. Some of them, even if you give them this money, they will go and hand over the money to the governors, the state governors. So why? Because there's no participation in how they were elected. No consultation with the major stakeholders. How do you explain where a particular state government that is controlled by a particular party wins all the elections, wins all the seats of local government and plus the councils? So you now explain, that accounts to the kind of local government system we have, the kind of person that operate that tier of government. Because if you look at it critically, with the greatest respect, the 1999 Constitution has given a very clear and defined role on how local government administration should be, which is by a democratic means. But the state governors have always abused this because there's no political will to challenge them. Even some of these dissolved local government chairmen, they don't even have the mind to even challenge their dissolution. They don't. Because for being politically correct, you don't want to offend the governor, most of these governors. See, the truth about it is that a local government is the most important tier of government, where everybody in that local government should be a stakeholder. But unfortunately, what we have across the states, across the country, is that they are virtually handpicked. So that when you become a candidate of a ruling party in that state, the other opposition will not even dare to participate because the state electoral commission is virtually under the control and dictate of the state governor. So you can see the aberration from time. And that's why some people are arguing that local government elections should be conducted by INEC. So that you cannot explain where, if it is INEC conducting the election, the other parties will win some seats. Like for instance, the House of Assembly and the National Assembly. But when it comes to local government administration, it is a one-way traffic.
It's one-way traffic.
One-way traffic. Either way, you can look at it. So that is the aberration we'll look at it. But then, the operators of the system, with the greatest respect, mostly because the way they came on board, they don't even want to even challenge the system. And for you to correct the system, you must go through the court system. For being politically correct, most of them will not want to do that. So, and that is a tier of government that is the closest to the people. I can tell you that most stakeholders, critical stakeholders in the local government are never carried along in how even the candidates emerge. And that is the friction you have in internal party politics, vis-a-vis the general elections. So it is a one-man affair. And that is why I said earlier on that most people would not, what is the difference between caretaker arrangement and even the elected representative? So we must challenge
I'm sure that Mr. Maje will disagree with you on that. There must be a difference between caretakers and elected officials.
I agree with him in some areas he just mentioned, just like what he says in some state, or most of the state, the way the governors conduct election, you will find out if the governor is in PDP, all the chairmen and the councillors are won by PDP. If the governor is an APC governor, the same thing happened. But in my state, it's not the same thing. I can tell you in my own local government, I have 4 councillors from PDP and 6 councillors from APC. And I am APC. My state is APC. We have 2 local government chairmen that are PDP today in Niger State out of the 25 local government chairmen that we have. Even in my governor's local government, he has some councillors that are from PDP. So he allows a free and fair election, but it will be proper if the constitution is being amended so that INEC will conduct local government election. I think it's the best thing for local government.
So how come where you see that in the few cases where the dissolution of elected chairmen and councillors have been challenged in court, it's only in states where the opposition comes to power and dissolves the local councils that were elected prior to the governor's election. Only in those states. I've not heard of a state where, for instance, a PDP governor and PDP councillors are dissolved, and then they had the elected councillors go to court to say, no, you cannot do this because our election is constitutionally guaranteed. Neither has it ever happened in any APC state.
It's not elected, but I can say it happened in my state. When my governor came in 2015, he made a PDP chairman. After their tenure expired, he allowed them to stay, all the 25 PDP chairmen, he allowed them to stay for another 3 months as a caretaker for him to conduct election. That happened in my state, that is Niger State. But most of the state recently that they made some other parties that are not their party, they dissolved them and put in their own as a caretaker. I think it's not right at all. It's against the Constitution. And just like my brother said, there is no political will to checkmate that kind of issue. But just like I said earlier on, the solution to all these challenges is for the president to have more political will and also members of the National Assembly to amend the Constitution so that local government in Nigeria will have their full autonomy.
All right, let's take a short break. When we return, we'll be hopefully be joining Mr. Olatunji of Norge, the president-elect of Norge. Right, I can see him now, but we will be joining him as soon as we return from the short break. Stay with us. All right, thank you so much for staying with us. We now have Mr. Ambali Olatunji. He's the National Treasurer and President-elect, Nigerian Union of Local Government Employees, Norge. Mr. Olatunji, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Nigerians.
Well, we're looking at the situation where elected local government officials are replaced with caretaker committees. I mean, as employees of the local governments, how have you been able to fare in these situations? Which do you prefer? I mean, on one hand, the Constitution Section 7, subsection 1 guarantees elected local government, but you have situations where most of your members are working under caretaker committees.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. That is why you have listened to the program, and I want to appreciate my whole co-participant. Well, for us in local government system, we've been at the vanguard of campaigning for local government autonomy. And what we meant by that is that we demanded for political autonomy, political and administrative autonomy for local government, and financial autonomy for local government system. You see, this problem shouldn't have arisen, but because of the ambiguity and contradiction in 1999 Constitution, that was brought about this problem as a result of lacuna in the Constitution. Just like my chairman of Suleja local government mentioned, it is an aberration to have an election, what we call an election, what we in Norge see as a selection or anointment or coronation of party cronies at the detriment of democratic norms and governance. For example, you realize that in so many states, when you allow SIEC, State Independent Electoral Commission, to conduct election, most opposition parties back out of the election because they know it's only an endorsement, it's a coronation. It's no longer an election. For us, we never prefer caretaker because they don't have the mandate of the people. It is contrary to our constitution, it's contrary to democratic norms. But we are aware that the political elite, because of greed, decided to corner resources in local government at the detriment of development. That's why we have the barrage of problems bedeviling local government system as of today. The problem of local government is the foundation of national problem. When the foundation is weak, nothing can be built on it. In the past, in local government system, we always have security meeting, bringing in all stakeholders on Monday of every week. The chairman of local government preside over security meetings. When there is bound to be a crisis or a problem, it will have been informed. We will need bids in the board. But as today, nothing like that is happening. There are so many dividends of democracy that are the slogan of dividend of democracy that is being paraded. The people in the rural areas are not benefiting. The local government workers are not benefiting. Why? Because they appointed their cronies to start over local government, and also that they will be able to corner and divert local government fund. So if we are serious about development in Nigeria, if we are serious about dividend of democracy in Nigeria, we must allow democratically elected local government political leaders to be at the helm of affairs. And that election must or should be conducted by independent National Electoral Commission, not those people that are handpicked by the governors of various states who are not ready to allow democracy to thrive. Thank you.
Now, you identified what you called a lacuna in the 1999 Constitution and what you refer to as ambiguous provisions and contradictions in the Constitution. Now, we, as a country, we are also in another process of constitution review. Has NOGE made any representation, has it sent any memoranda to the Senate or House of Reps committee on this issue?
Thank you. Let me appreciate the 7th and 8th National Assembly. You are aware we canvass across the country. We try to awaken the consciousness of Nigerians toward the bedeviling evil in local government system as a result of abuse of power by various governors of the state. We move around all the states in the federation, and luckily, the 8th Assembly, National Assembly, approved our request. There was a referendum where NOGE physically was present, and we canvassed for it with other stakeholders in the community. At the end of the day, they agreed. And that referendum brought about over 85% agreement of Nigerians that local government must be entirely free. But where do we run into a technical age? The governors also unpicked the members of the House of Assembly without allowing the normal process. So some of them, the appointed speakers of House of Assembly, decided to thwart the mandate of Nigerian people. That is why today I was thinking that the National House of Assembly legislators are representative of the people. If they are representative of the people, any issue that has been subjected to public referendum, we people have voted en masse in support, should not have been jettisoned or manipulated by them. Most of the House of Assembly is only 7 states that gave concurrence. The remaining others refuse to do that. And as of today, that is why we are having the problem. The paucity of foreign local government has become a ghost of herself as of today. We are no longer delivering dividends of democracy and the mandate of the founding fathers. Why do we have local government system, for example? The first law of local government system came into existence under Law Lugard in 1916, which give room to consolidate native authority into a government, because Nigeria, the way Nigeria is structured, is multilingual, is multi-ethnic in nature, and for us to allow all inclusiveness in governance and democracy, we need a system of government at that local level that will give voice to the people, that will allow participatory democracy at that level, that will allow development and growth at that level, that will give sense of belonging and security at that level. But now, unfortunately, the dreams of the founding fathers have been hijacked and have been misprioritized and misplaced by the political elite. If you want to stop banditry, if you want to stop terrorism, if you want to make sure we have peace and tranquility in Nigeria, we must all come together to support NOGE in our agitation for complete autonomy for local government. Now to the question you asked, we have submitted our own memorandum to the National Assembly as of today. But surprisingly, there was an angle that gave us concern. When the lower house, the House of Representatives, started debating the removal of local government as a tier of government. This is unfortunate. But we believe by the time we continue to engage them, they will see reason. Everybody in the National Assembly emerged from a local government system. They have their people in the local government. Is Nigeria moving forward progressively when we talk about security as of today? Look at the corruption index in Nigeria. Look at a lot of things that are getting wrong, going wrong, until we have a local government system that is functional, that can deliver the vision of democracy, that will be able to meet the need and aspiration of the founding fathers. We are not getting it right yet in Nigeria.
All right, Mr. Olatunji, please stay with us. Mr. Maje, let me come to you. He has thrown up a very critical issue, which is the fact that the flip side of all of this is the agitation or the move by certain individuals to actually remove local governments as a tier of government. The Constitution, the 1999 Constitution, even the one before it, 1979, actually provided for local governments as a third tier of government. But rather than strengthening the local councils, some people are asking for it to be removed completely. Does that mean that the local government administration in Nigeria has failed the people, or it is just some selfish political interests that are being served here?
I can tell you that is a selfish political interest from a few individuals maybe at the National Assembly. But I believe that will not work in this country. Just like he mentioned, there was a move by some few individuals at the National Assembly to scrap the local government administration entirely. But like he said, all the members of the National Assembly come from local government council. And local government council as a third tier of government is very important because it's the closest to the masses, the closest to the people. It's only in local government that you find that where the masses can easily go and see their electoral in their houses, like the councillors and the chairman. But before they could get to see their House of Assembly members, State of Assembly members, or their governors, it's not possible. It takes them time because most of the National Assembly members hardly go to their constituents. It's just few of them. So talking about scrapping the local government administration entirely is very wrong. And I believe majority of the National Assembly member won't allow that to happen. And very soon, the Algon leadership and also the labor and the local government employee will come together to fight this cause, to make sure local government administration has been well funded, or make sure they get their full autonomy.
I was just going to ask you that question about the kind of cooperation or the kind of interface Argon is having with NOGE and with other labor unions in ensuring that you have a streamlined position. You are politicians, they are workers.
They are workers. Just like you said, from the previous leadership, we are having a challenges in Algon right now. So let me just be open to you. We have two factions. That is my own leadership and that of Kola Alabi of Lagos, Bariga Development Area Council, who happened to be the president of Algon before the General Assembly of Algon, who is the highest decision maker of the association, dissolved that leadership because he came from a development area council. He's not one of the 774 local government recognized by the Constitution. So there is no way someone does not even have allocation from the Federation account, is not part of 774, will become a leader of Algon in Nigeria, will lead the 774 because he has no stake.
That's what the lawyers will call locus.
Yeah, it is a local government development area council created by Lagos State. They are not recognized by the Constitution. His local government is not part of the 774, and we are talking about 774. So there is no way that leadership can work. They don't have any interest on local government. Their interest is to come to connive with some consultants and make some fake document signed by local government, awarding contracts, go to court, claiming billions of nairas from the local government. Court will give order to start deduction of billions every month from local government funds. It's just of recent that we came on board the IMC and we start fighting that cause. And also the governor key in. They were just in September, October, they deducted about 11 billion in just 2 months. claiming of 60-something billion, 100-something billion naira. The governor have to stop that. So we are having crisis in Algon. We have a case in court presently going on. So that is why I can't say much about the Algon leadership. But I can tell you the IMC is working towards meeting the leadership of labor and also the local government employee, so that we can come together and fight the cause, fight the corruption going on in Algon, and also for us to get local government autonomy.
Mr. Ayongo, everybody seems to agree that the local governments is the nearest level of government to the masses, to the people at the grassroots. Now, but having practiced this system for over 21 years, in fact, 21 years since the Fourth Republic. Before then, we had all, since 1976, in fact, when local government administration came into force. Now, having practiced for this long, how much impact would you say local government administration has made on the developmental strides of that level of government? Should we continue? Or is there some merit in the argument of those in the National Assembly who are saying the third-tier government should not exist?
Without hesitation, I think I want to completely disagree with any set of minds that want to abrogate the local government system. If you look at 1999, from 1999 to when this present democracy started, the local government system had some form of autonomy. I can tell you then, in my state, crossover state, the local government had some performance because they had financial autonomy. After that, you couldn't say otherwise, because after the first maybe 4-8 years, it was totally abused across the country. So if you give them some level of financial autonomy, they will perform. Again, I want us to look at it from this other perspective, security-wise. I can say, maybe this is my position, that more than 50% of the security challenges we're having in this country is because of the lack of effective local government administration. We claim to practice federalism, and we claim to model it along that side of the United States of America. Of course, you have the county council in the US and the state, and they have, even the local government have local government police. The mayor of New York is autonomous. I mean, the then President Donald Trump, when he came to this COVID arrangement, he made his own statement and said, "This is my local government," in quote, New York, and said, "Look, I stand by it and I will defend it." There's autonomy at the local government level, but the practice we have presently, we cannot say this is local government administration we're having. So what we should be on board is should have to strengthen the local government system, and that it will start by how these local government chairmen and councillors emerge. They are critical stakeholders in the local government that must be consulted by across the party divide, that should come together and say, look, I should know who my councillor is. I should know who the councillor, the capacity the councillor can bring to the table, the value on the table, you know. And then the local government chairman, how capable, how acceptable is it among the populace? He should be able to live with us and should know our problem. So the local government is very, very critical, and it's my position that our security challenges is because of the lack of effective local government administration we have in this country. Because as a local government chairman, he can testify to me, let me give it to him that it's on ground. He knows the nook and crannies of his local government. He knows the visitors. He knows the challenges, the peculiar terrain. And he can work with the security agent, and the security situation will greatly improve.
All right.
So my position is that the local government should be strengthened.
All right. Let's turn to Mr. Olatunji very quickly. Mr. Olatunji, what are your expectations moving forward? What do you think we need to
Thank you.
do?
Our expectation is that there should be urgent amendment of 1999 Constitution, whereby the observed contradiction should be removed. One is the issue of Joint Account Allocation Committee, which is a joint fraud. If that is deleted from the Constitution, we will have a lot of reprieve. Let there be direct funding of local government. Money meant for local government should hit local government accounts. Let us also have democratically elected leaders, political leaders in local government level. Let the political leaders represent their people. Let them have the mandate of their people. We don't need state police, for God's sake. What we need is local government police. Where is the land of any state? Is it not the local government that constitute the state? So for us, until we get it right, we will be having this challenge. And again, let us also know that wherever we are, whatever position we are presently, when we retire, either from politics or from public life, we will go back to that local government we've been unfair to, that we've legislated against its existence. So for us, we as public servants, we are in the local government system, but we should not be contented with taking salary alone. We must be concerned about the existence, the structure, the growth, and the development, and the democratic dividends to our people. For us, we call on the National Assembly. As a matter of urgency, the House of Reps should immediately put a stop to that obnoxious anti-people move of removing local government as third tier of government.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Olatunji. Thank you so much. We have run out of time and we must go, but we want to thank you immensely for joining us, although a bit late, but I think you succeeded in making some very valid points. Mr. Ambali Olatunji is the National Treasurer and the President-elect of the Nigerian Union of Local Government Employees, NULGE. Thank you so much for your time. And of course, he was joined right here in the studio by the chairman of Suleja Local Government and chairman Interim Management Committee of the Association of Local Governments of Nigeria, AGON, Abdullahi Shaibu Maje. Thank you so much for joining us, chairman. And of course, we were also joined by Leonard Ayongo, who is a lawyer. He's based here in the nation's capital, Abuja. Thank you so much for your time.
It's my honor always.
All right. Thank you for investing your time with us on People, Politics, and Power this beautiful Monday. We look forward to seeing you again when we bring you a fresh edition of the program. Bye for now.